Hey, good morning. Welcome to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Paul Taylor. I own and operate TCI Development. We're a building contracting company located in Southern California. If you've been following along, we are back out here on the massive modern custom home going in the Temecula wine country. And today's video is going to be about scheduling and what we do in the framing stages and why we're doing it at this time. And if you are a homeowner, or you're going to be a homeowner and you're going to have a house built, or if you are a contractor starting out, you might want to pay attention to this video. I'm going to cover all key important things that need to take place right now. And even more importantly, I'm going to cover the key ingredients in the recipe for my business, right? I have 4 key ingredients that I live by and that I operate by professionally, and even helps me personally. What are these key ingredients? Commitment, communication, collaboration, and coordination. Okay, just like a baker who bakes a cake, you have eggs, sugar, flour, water, and you omit any one of those ingredients and you're not going to have a very good cake. That's the same for me and my building company. I have to live by these 4 key ingredients when I'm building for a client, no matter what it is. So follow along on the video, take some notes. Go down at the bottom of the screen right there. Give us a thumbs up on our video if you wouldn't mind. It just helps YouTube to recommend our video to other people. Also, down there on the corner, hit the subscribe button. Follow us along on our projects. We have a lot going on. We have a lot coming up. Follow us on this build from start to finish. Let's get right into the video. Thanks for watching. Okay, let's go inside and go over everything that's happening in here. Okay, you can see what's happening in here right now. We've got Cody from AC Electric. He's up here putting in, we have a whole bunch of can lights going in here. But this is a big room, this is the great room, and we're gonna have ceiling fans in here. We don't like ceiling fans to be spinning underneath big lights with a lot of lumens, because then it casts a flickering shadow. We don't like that. He's laying all this out, but you can see right here on the ground, we marked out with the owners, right? I spent hours here with the owners collaborating, okay? That's one of the key ingredients in my recipe. We collaborated, went over all of their needs, speakers, what says on the ground here, speaker. We got it all laid out on the ground. These are speakers going up here, right? So these are gonna be a Sonos architectural design speaker. They're going on the ceiling, and we have 4 that are going outside. But right now, you can see where we laid all these black marks out on the ground. We wrote everything, okay? We lay everything out on the ground for our electrical to make sure that it's all going to be centered and even, because that's the way we like everything, exactly the same. And now they're laying out the lights up in the ceiling. So that's key, right? We centered these lights with that opening, right? We figured it out. I've spent about 2 or 3 days with my electrician laying out all the switches on the walls, all of the can lights that are on the exterior, making sure everything's nice, even, and straight. So that's what Cody's doing in here right now. And this is in the rough end stage, right? This is when all this should be happening. But I've been coordinating with the owners, and I've been collaborating with the owners for weeks now before we even got to this stage. And that's when you should be doing it. Also, in the kitchen, right here, okay? You see we laid everything out on the kitchen, right? We have freezer, refrigerator, stovetop, sink in the center of this window. We have everything laid out, okay? But before we did all of this, I had the owners, I collaborated with the owners to pick out all their appliances. Why did we need to know appliances? Because I spent about 3 hours here with the owners and my cabinet maker, and we need to know the appliance models and the spec sheets and cutout sheets for all the appliances. So my cabinet maker, when he builds his cabinets, everything fits into those openings, okay? Not only that, I needed the spec sheet. These freezer and refrigerator are quite large. I needed those spec sheets because I needed to know where the electrical boxes go for those, the freezer and the refrigerator, okay? You don't want it in the wrong location, then you're gonna be cutting drywall and moving it, all right? Same thing. I've been going over everything with my heating and air conditioning contractor. That's Riley from Ray's Heating and Air Conditioning. And this is Scott that works with Riley. These guys are laying everything out exactly where we want it, okay? So him and I have been collaborating, going over the layout, right? I told you before we like everything nice and even. You can see right here on the ground we mark with these blue dots where our can lights are going to go. There's our can lights. We want to make sure they're not in the way of our other contractors. But as I said in the previous video, everything has to be exactly the same. We use lasers to set these can lights to make sure they're exactly the same distance off the wall. But you can see Scott's here right now. He's tying up all the ducting, making sure everything's nice and clean. Okay, all of this. He's got his registers in. They've got blocking on the registers, and that's exactly center of this room. Not almost center. You can see the line he put right there on that floor truss. Exactly center. We don't like almost. Go over here. Same with my plumber, Matt. If you guys have been following on my channel, Matt's my plumber. Matt is outstanding. That man is invaluable, and he covers everything. So even back before we poured the foundation, right? Matt needed to know information. Okay, look right here. So normally your toilet drain goes 12 inches from the wall, okay? We set that from the form. It goes, so when he pulls off the form, he makes it to where he already knows on the plans that's a 2x6 wall. He makes it where that toilet drain is going to be 12 inches off the wall. Okay, then we're going to put drywall, which is 5/8 of an inch. Well, Matt is not here today because he's at another house he did for another contractor, and the contractor failed to inform him they were going to put 1-inch thick tile on all the walls in the bathroom. And now Matt has to jackhammer and move his drains because the toilet will not fit. So before you even get into framing, when you're setting up your forms, and I covered this back in the form setting stage of this job, when you're setting the forms, you need to make sure, collaborate with the owners, ask them, is there wainscot, is there any kind of trim moldings going on these walls, or is there any tile going on the walls? Because the plumber needs to know that. That way he's not jackhammering, okay? We're getting all this stuff roughed in, electrical, where I'm in constant communication with my contractor, Jeremy, who's right here. If you guys have watched my channel, you know Jeremy. Him and I spend days just on the bottom floor. We haven't even gotten to the top floor yet. We spend days laying all this stuff out. And it needs to go where it needs to go, and all the switches need to go where the owner wants them. But you don't want to have one wall with 40 switches on it. And this house has over 200 can lights in it. So that's communication and collaboration. Okay? I mentioned that with the plumber. Now, let's talk about the drywaller. He's not here yet, okay? We're doing all the rough-in electrical, all the rough-in HVAC. We have a week and a half from now, Rusty from Pacific Fire Sprinkler, he's going to start his fire sprinklers. So I've been communicating with Rusty, giving him the schedule, so I'm not holding him up on any of his other jobs. I told him I'm going to need him in about a week and a half. I've been calling him about every 2 weeks, just updating him on the schedule, right? That's communication and coordination for scheduling. This is Derek right here, Derek McKnight. He does all of our solar. You know, this is the state of California, and everybody has to have solar. Derek has been here several times, going up on the roof, measuring, taking all of his measurements, because he needs to know what's happening, where everything's going, when he's going to start, so I'm not holding him up on another job, which we don't really care about his other jobs, we only care about ours. So that's what we're doing. Thanks, Derek. Anyway, that's what's happening. Commitment. To have a successful building company, you have to be committed. Okay? Just like in relationships, right? If you're not committed and you're not communicating, that's a failed relationship. Same in business. Commitment, communication. That's me. I've been communicating and collaborating with Derek, with Jeremy, with my plumber, Matt, with my framing contractor, Wes, way in advance, and spending hours with the owners going over all of their needs well in advance, okay? Framing stage is when you're doing all your rough-in, like we're doing here now, rough-in electrical, rough-in plumbing, rough-in heating and air conditioning, and fire sprinklers. After that, we will call for our combo inspection before we get into insulation and drywall. Now, speaking of drywall, Al from All Pro Drywall does our drywall, okay? He needs to know what I'm putting on the walls for base molding, okay? What are we using for base molding? We're not using standard wood base molding, and we definitely don't use MDF. That's advanced cardboard. We're using this right here. This is metal base molding. This is called Fry Riglet. This is a Shadow Z line. This goes on the wall down here, right? Like this. And it goes on after drywall is installed. So you can see, then tile will go into the bottom of it. All right. Here's the thing. This stuff, this molding I'm using is 2.5 inches to this lip right here. So what I will do is I will have my guys cut blocks, wood blocks, put those wood blocks, nail those wood blocks to the bottom. We will nail wood blocks on the bottom at these studs. We will bring them up 2 3/4 of an inch, cut them all off evenly with a laser, because this foundation, even though we try to be our best at pouring foundations, there might be some wavy spots. We will set all those blocks at 2 3/4 of an inch. Then my drywaller will come in and he will set his drywall on top of those wood blocks. We will come by after that, we will remove the wood blocks, and then we will start putting our molding on, okay? Why do I cut it at why do I put the blocks at 2 3/4 instead of 2.5 where this lip is? Because we don't want to have to wedge this in here if there's a high spot in the concrete. We want it to fit right in. This goes over the drywall, and then you screw it on through these holes right here, and then this is your mud ring for the drywall. Okay, collaboration with the owners. I went around with the owners. I asked them where they would want, Ethernet for a computer desk or for flat screen TVs. I walked around, you'll see I painted on the wall everywhere where they're going to want TVs up high or maybe Ethernet down low. So when we run over our low voltage, we're not tearing it out during the drywall stage because we don't want to cut drywall and start messing with that. I walked through with the owner, we set everything, and then I walked through with Jeremy, my electrical contractor. He marks everything out, and most importantly for me, because this is a must, he puts a level across these, make sure everything is level. All of it. I don't want one faceplate a 1/4 inch higher than another faceplate. That'd drive me crazy. Has to be that way. Jeremy knows this. He's been doing my electrical for 20 years, so he knows. Okay, so everywhere we mark out where all the switches are going. So we marked it out right here. S outside, switch for outside. All of it. Right here on the stud, you see we marked it. And the garage in here, right? The owners, these guys are big time into motocross. So I'm a guy, and I don't know what you are, it doesn't matter. But all the guys I know, we like to tinker in the garage. So what we did was we made sure he had plenty of electrical outlets in this garage. Over there, switches, outlets all along this wall, because look, if you're into motocross or hot rods, or if you have a craft, or if you're into crafting or whatever, you don't want to have to run out extension cords all over the place. So on the plans it called for a couple of outlets, but we put them about every 6 feet because that's what a garage should have. It just has to be that way. Okay? Same with electrical panels. I covered that in the last video. Nice and level and plumb. Jeremy knows this. That's the way we want it, or I will make him take them off and reset them. Let's go take a look outside and cover what happened out there, how I collaborated with my electrician and his employees, and how we laid everything out for the future. This project has, 16, 17, 18 overhangs or awnings. All right, and we have, you can see up there, Scott and Riley up there doing their HVAC inside the utility closet, but you can see all the lights we put up in these overhangs. They're everywhere, all right? Everywhere. All these lights in the overhangs. Now you look over here, you look closely, you see that string that's running there, all right? This is important details. The small details really matter. This gets stucco on the wall, and it also gets stucco out here going up the eave right here, up the side of the fascia. All right? When you add 7/8 of an inch of stucco, or let's call it 1 inch, you're adding 1 inch to the wall, and then 1 inch out here. Okay? That changes the center. Once the stucco's done, that moves the center 1 inch out on these lights. You can see where he marked it. He marked the center right now. You can see those 2 black marks up there. He marked the center. That's 4 feet out. He marked it at 2 feet. I came back and said, hey, you got to move those. He said, why is that? I said, well, we have stucco going on there. That shifts everything 1 inch. I had him move them 1 inch. He ran a string on every single one of them, and he put them exactly in the center. So now when stucco goes on this house, it will all be centered and will not be 1 inch off. Now, you may be saying, well, what does that matter, 1 inch? Well, you might not see it. I will see it. The owners may see it. It just has to be that way. Up there, same thing. Let's look out here on the porch, same thing, right? All the lights all have to be centered. We have stucco going on that wall, no stucco going out here because it's steel. We put these center. Okay, now I've covered this in previous videos. This is one of the most key details in building the most energy efficient home in the industry. Okay, we do our very best. We may not be the best at it, but we try harder than everyone to be the best at making the most energy efficient home in the industry, right? When you turn on your heating and air conditioning, it pressurizes the house. That pressurization goes through the electrical outlets and goes through any cavity, gets inside the wall cavity, and will go out the bottom, plate and outside. So you'll see, I sprayed foam everywhere where the shear panel nails to the bottom plate, and this is double 2x6 frame walls. I sprayed foam in between them. Okay, what else does this cover? This keeps ants, spiders, and critters from crawling underneath. I showed you in a previous video, when my framer frames the walls, he uses a two-sided foam tape right here. It goes underneath the framing and then he bolts the framing down. However, that still isn't enough, and I go around and I put caulking on all the plate line, all the way around the house. You can see right here, there's no gap between the concrete and the plate line. This is completely sealed up in addition to the double-sided foam tape that's underneath the framing. Okay, we seal up the whole entire exterior, then we seal up the interior with spray insulation foam. Everywhere we see sunlight coming in, everywhere we see a gap, and I will show you why right now. I left this bay open so you can see. You see the sunlight down there? Well, some of these 2x6 studs are wider than that bottom plate, and it causes the shear panel to stick out. That gap that you see, that sunlight, your heating and air conditioner, when your electrician puts his face plates on and all that, your heating and air will go through the outlet, out the back, and go right out that gap. Now this house is 185 feet long. The perimeter all the way around the circumference of this house is over 400 feet, all right? If we left all those gaps open, that would equal a window bigger than that one right there. It would be about an 8-foot window opened all the way up. And your heating and air conditioning and your money will be spilling out those gaps, right? It'll also be going under the plate line and going out. So, double 2x6 frame walls. You can see here, here's your roof, your ceiling joist. But we had a 1/4 inch gap between the walls. We sealed it with foam. Everywhere we see sunlight, we sealed it with foam everywhere. Okay, every cavity. Now, you may think, well, that seems ridiculous, okay? And a house of this size running in heating and air conditioning is very expensive. We do this on every project. This is not code and regulation. I've been doing this on every project, right? I don't know if any other builders do it. Doesn't matter. I do it. I pay for it out of pocket. It's not part of my quote when I bid a house, because you're looking at a couple $100s and a few hours of time, right, to build the most energy efficient home we possibly can. Okay? We don't just do it there. We do it where there's plumbing or electrical or any kind of penetration through the top plate. I will show you right now. Look in the bathroom right here. So my plumber ran his plumbing, right? You can see we sealed every gap that goes outside. We sealed between the two framed walls, because this house is all double 2x6 framed walls. But look, everywhere there's a penetration into the top plate, we seal every bit of it. We seal it in the fire blocks. So this isn't just about heating and air conditioning, okay? When it's really cold outside, and it can get cold in this Temecula Valley, when it's really cold outside, right, or really hot outside, well, heat and cold will come in those gaps down there, get into your wall cavity, and then bleed into the house, okay? The whole perimeter of this house is sealed with caulking under the plate line, double 2-sided tape under the plate line, spray foam in every gap. That's quality. Okay, that's it for today out here on this project. I had to learn a valuable lesson in my past by not adhering to these 4 key principles: commitment, communication, collaboration, and coordination. Those are key ingredients for running my building company and in my personal life. Hopefully this has been helpful to you. Hopefully you can implement those into your life, and I wish you much success. Continue to follow us on all of our projects. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to go down and give us a like on our video. We can't build the channel without you. Thank you for watching. You guys have an outstanding day, and hopefully you can learn something by watching our projects that'll help you with your project.